This is Angry Old White People. I'm an angry old white person. I'm Dr. Joe. Thank you for watching. Mr. and Mrs. America, all ships at sea, all planes in the air, all vehicles on the ground, greetings. Today we're going to have a discussion about how to end a recession or a depression. To do that, I need to give you a little quick history of my background so you know who I am. I was an accountant with Ernst & Young CPA firm. I was a treasury agent with the IRS. I practiced law for 22 years. I was a senior trust officer for a commercial bank, and I was a captain in the Air Force, and I had a patent that I put into a corporation, took to the New York Stock Exchange, and I've been a financial advisor. And the reason I give you that background is because we need to discuss how to end a recession or depression. The model we're going to use is the Great Depression of the 1920s. In the 1920s, Woodrow Wilson was just voted out of office, or he had finished his term in office, and the Republicans had voted in Warren G. Harding. The Great Depression of the 1920s is hardly heard of. But what had happened was the initial income tax rate was to be, back in 1913, was to be between 1 and 7%. In 1921 and early 22, the income tax rate was not 1 to 7%. It was 78%. Can you imagine that? The country was deep in debt from World War I. And the American people had unemployment rate approaching 7 to 8%, which was unheard of at that time. Warren G. Harding, as president, died in office after visiting in San Diego, California, and his vice president, Calvin Coolidge, took over in 1923. Now, President Coolidge, in my estimation, was one of the greatest presidents we've ever had because of the way the country was set up and how it was established. Right after George Washington. And that means Franklin Delano Roosevelt and John Kennedy as well. However, here's what happened. The income tax rate at 78%, unemployment rate at approximately 8%, Calvin Coolidge and his Republican House and Senate immediately set to work and they slashed the income tax rate from 78% down to 25%. They slashed government spending in half. They didn't reduce the increase. Today we have something that's known as the increase in spending in our budget, and when we cut it back a little bit, our government tells us they've reduced spending. They haven't. That's part of the increase they've reduced. What Calvin Coolidge did was just chop spending in half. So here's what happened. And you might understand something before we get there. You understand that the women's suffrage was in full force, although women had the right to vote from the inception of our country. They had to be property owners, but they could vote. That's right. You didn't know that? Well, you need to know that. In addition to that, we also had a little problem with alcohol. So we had prohibition going on. But what do you know about the 1920s? What can you tell me about it? Think about it. The 1920s are called the what 20s? That's right, the roaring 20s. Now, why did it roar? Here's why. There are two major engines that drive the United States. One big engine is called government. The big engine of government produces nothing. Doesn't produce food, iPads, cars, nothing. And government has no money at every level, in your city or town, in your county, in your state and federal government. Government has no money until they take it from us, from you and me. We're taxpayers. They take it through taxation. If you want a road to drive on, that's fine. Government has no money and produces nothing. So what happens? They have to get the money from us to put in a street or a school. You understand that? That's the way it works. Government has no money. The other big engine that drives the United States is called the big engine of business. The big engine of business produces everything. Food, clothes, furniture, all manner of things, everything, and services. So that we have a big engine of business and you get a paycheck from it. And it creates money and it creates value of money. So now you understand the two big businesses, two big engines that drive the United States. One is government and the other is business. So when you have a government employee to get a paycheck, like a school teacher, a fireman, a policeman, staff members for the Senate or the House, that's right, government has no money until we taxpayers are taxed. And then you can pay those employees. That's the way it works. In the private sector, we have jobs because we produce things. We're producing everything. Now, so back to the 1920s. You knew it as the Roaring Twenties. So government was then removed from the big engine of government. It was suppressed to almost nothing. We need it for defense and a few other things, maybe water and sewer, but basically get government out of the way. That's the way it was set up. So in the 1920s, we had television, refrigeration and air conditioning, cars, electricity, radio. We had a huge roaring 20 of business because the regulation of business by government, those private little laws that choke business down, was removed and minimized. Taxation was dropped, and we had the roaring 20s. Now you understand today, you and I can have the roaring 2014s, 2015s, 2016s, and on. How do we do that again? Let's review. We have to do what? Reduce the income tax rate, maybe use a fair tax so it can't be raised again. And secondly, cut government spending from $3.2 trillion down to about $1 trillion. That's right, defense and everything will be reduced dramatically. But government does not need to regulate us. We do not need OSHA. We don't need all the regulations that come out so we can't drill for oil to protect the environment. That's nonsense. As a matter of fact, it's an evil way for government to overtake our freedoms. You see, our freedoms come from our Creator. And if your freedom comes from your government, the government can take it away. Just think about a little bit of that. I've done that on another video. That's for another time. So now we understand that government does not produce anything, but business does. And we must do what for business? We must build business, allow business, release business, because we can have a greater freedom and a bigger paycheck. If you're a government employee, you're going nowhere. It's a dead-end street. I don't care what level of government, you're going no place. So you get into the private sector, get a job, study hard in an area that you can become proficient, you can create. Because the American dream is this. The American dream is rising from the ghetto, being nobody, to somebody in your community. That's the American dream. That is not offered in almost every country on the face of the earth, except in this country. So if you're receiving aid to dependent children, remember, government has no money. If you get an unemployment check, government has no money. If you're getting any kind of aid or assistance, SSI, or whether you're getting the income tax credit, government doesn't have any money. Government produces no food, no clothes, no nothing. Do you understand that? So when you go to vote, please understand that you're going to vote for somebody in your town, in your city, in your county, in your state government, and in your federal government. If they want government to be bigger, we're going to have these preschooling programs. We're going to have free care for our health. No, the government doesn't have any money. You want free health care? That's right, you have to pay for it. So as we understand that, when we send somebody to our government entity to represent us, make sure that the big engine of business, can you imagine the big engine of business today, and you can get a job that pays you $100,000, $200,000 a year without the government raising the taxes and taking it all away from you? Because the American dream means you're going to rise out of the ghetto as nobody to become somebody. Let's rehearse this. Let's go back over it and sum up. Government in the 1920s was pulled back, and business was allowed to go wide open and create tremendous wealth. From there on forward, our government has been strangling all the business, reducing it through little private laws and regulations to the point that you can literally have the IRS come and audit you. The Department of Labor can audit you through their private little laws called regulations, and you are tied hand and foot, and you're intimidated. So vote for those who want to tie government down and release business, and you become part of it and join it. Remember that we're all one. We're white, black, red, brown, and yellow. That's us, Americans. No one group controls America. No colored racial group. Secondly, remember that we were all created. We did not evolve. And I want you to recognize and beware of the dark and horrible and horrific wild side and terrible side of government. Because government that we live under can make us, those who run it, their slaves through their regulations. And just remember, it's your life. What have you done to protect your own life? And folks, I want you to protect the children. The children are only protectors are you, and that's all they have. Please go to timeforfreedom.net. Please go there and get my ebook, They Hate Us and He Hates Us. You may buy it on the timeforfreedom.net website or on Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. Please go read it to your children and send us a donation to continue these messages for these angry old white people like me. Please send your donation to the Federal Children Congress, Inc. at the website soundthealarm1.com and send us your donation to help get the word out to your children and your grandchildren. Email me at drjoe@timeforfreedom.net, drjoe, timeforfreedom.net, with your comments. Thanks for watching, and please tell your friends to watch this video. Use your Facebook and post it there. Twitter and tweet it out. Please email it to all your friends and neighbors, your family, your church members, your gang, whomever you have. Thank you for watching. I am Dr. Joe, and until later, goodbye, and God bless you.